Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review is brought to you in part by Rogers Hobby Center in Saginaw, Michigan, where the fun begins. This review covers the Pinto Popper Custom Coca-Cola 77 Ford Pinto. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT, number 1166. Now, the Ford Pinto was a popular runabout built back in the 70s that featured economical four-cylinder engines and were chosen to be the basis, therefore, as customizers and drag cars everywhere. The kit's been issued in many forms throughout the years, and this version includes a custom version for experienced modelers, and the custom front end won't fit without some modifications. So in stock form, this kit goes together out of the box very easily. Nice instructions, but we've chosen to show you how to build the advanced custom version. Now, round 2 issue has many optional parts, and there's a Coca-Cola machine too, which is built up from 3 pieces, and some great looking decals. Now, the kit has 116 parts. It's molded in white, chrome, clear, clear green, and clear red. When you're done, the finished model is 7 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 2 1/4 inches high. Hey, that's our new program manager, Newt, with a question.
Say, why is this one called a popper anyways?
Well, Newt, I don't know for sure, but I think it's a takeoff of the Lil Popper kit version, and the name links it to the Coke theme since pop is a generic term for soft drinks. A lot of people use the term soda pop or just pop for short there.
It's pretty cool. I think Coca-Cola should actually have one made.
Well, that would be neat, but they would probably use something newer like a Chevrolet Sonic or a Fiat 500 nowadays. Here are the parts and contents of the kit, and as you can see, the frets are nicely laid out. Some good chrome stuff there, and 2 sets of tires. There's also prominently the green windows, Coke green windows sticking out there. So we'll be using mostly liquid cement, sometimes super glue, and even white glue for the windows to keep those nice and clear. Now, as you're building the model, and you see in the review products here, please use the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines for any that you come across. Here are those great looking Coke decals. The register is very good and the color is spot on. The great big Coca-Cola script there for the doors really make for a nice looking display. Bear in mind that this is an older mold, and you'll find that there's flash and some attachment points, even some small sinks, so you'll have to do a little extra work for that nice clean look. So gather up the parts for the engine. You find most of them here on this sprue, and there's a couple of chrome parts like the covers, but get those together and we'll start assembly of the engine next. After gluing together the block, the transmission, the oil pan, you can see here in the heads, you can see here that the engine block has holes in the sides for the stock axle to pass through. But since we're building a custom version with the lowered front suspension, the stock axle isn't used. So a spare part from a round sprue is a good fit to fill the hole, smooth it out, and eliminate that pass-through. And this is like, just painting the block halves so that you do it all at one time before you add the final coat. And so here's the assembled engine with the breather and the turbocharger, and that's an option for the engine. And this is the intake manifold side. And here's the turbocharger side on the right, and as you can see, the engine was painted a dark blue, as in the Ford catalog. So here's our impressive little turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and you see in the front here with the cooling fan, the belt and the alternators and the timing belt cover are all installed in place. And finally, the transmission side, you can see the detail here towards the front of the engine as well. These are the front and rear custom wheels and the trim rings, and these parts will need to be shortened a little bit where the axles go in, as well as the axles themselves, because if you don't, they'll stick way out from the body and they don't look as realistic. So here we've added the tires, and you can see that the front tires are not as wide as the rears, and these custom tires are hollow. So the wheel backs can be installed and allowed to dry, and then just slip the tires over them and push them onto the wheels. Now these the stock tires, they're a solid vinyl, and they've got nice wide wall and tread detail, and so does the custom tires. They have a good tread pattern on them as well. So here's just a peek forward of what the tires will look like when they're mounted on your kit. They're nice and clean, and the mags are nice and showy, so they are just perfect for a custom Pinto. Now we'll start working on the interior. You see here the completed dash, and it's got a custom steering wheel and optional Stewart Warner style gauges. And the optional gauges have strong raised details that are easy to paint with markings and pointers, and but the dash gauges are kind of weak. They're a little wore out. So I printed out some speedo and tachometer decals and just glued them into place. Now there's also an optional tack that can be placed on the steering column, so that's up to you. I elected to forego that, and I painted the dash using some one-shot spray with bright red, and then detailing it with black inset and some silver trappings and some brown for faux wood. And I used red, yellow, and green for the voltmeter gauges and white for all the pointers to replicate those gauge clusters. So here's the interior. It's got some pretty decent detail, and I went with a red and white scheme to go along with the Coke theme. And it's pretty basic. You glue the backs of the seats to the fronts, and then glue those to the floor, and then open the hole up for the shifter and assemble that, and install the parking brake between the seats, and install the completed dash into the slots there, and you're pretty much done. So I decided to add the back seat later, or omit it. I hadn't decided. Now the instructions will show to just delete the rear seat for the custom version, and only paint details, just for the door panels. I used a little silver for that, and the window cranks and door handles. And I used some bright red along with a few drops of black paint to paint the carpet and the seat inserts, which are surrounded by white vinyl. Then I used some clear flat on the interior. Now shown here with the zebra stripes are the stock muffler and exhaust pipe, and you'll need to cut those off from the axle because we'd be using the side exhaust for my version. The custom version, you'll also run into the fact that you're going to use the lowered front suspension without the axle going through the engine. So there's no mount for the front of the engine. So you'll have to use some strong glue at the rear of the transmission, and remember to scrape the paint off, or any chrome for that matter, before you glue parts together, but especially here, and then put the cross member on the chassis, and that holds the engine in place. And here's the exhaust splitter pipe for the side mount exhaust, and the mold lines are prominent, so you may want to smooth those out. And it also needs a little bit of trimming when you add the side pipes later on to get a perfect fit. So we're going to skip ahead again here and show you the completed chassis, and this is what it'll look like when your model is finished. But you can see the layout of the splitter pipe and the exhaust and where they exit, etc., so that you know how this goes together now. The red arrows point to a couple of tabs here that are meant to hold the hood up into place, but I wanted that to be a little more robust, so I glued some styrene strips to the underside of the hood to give it a good platform to rest on. Now the custom hood doesn't have any hood hinges, so I added some by removing them from the stock hood and gluing them into place at the back of the hood here for a nice display. And then now the custom hood, having them, has to be repainted, of course, with a fresh coat of red paint. As with many modifications, I found I had to go back and trim the supports that I had added there to clear the hinges in the back. And here's the completed operation with the thinner hinges, and hood hinges will now fit in there. So it also shows the battery in place, and the instructions have it mounted on the driver's side, which is wrong for a Pinto. and the battery is mounted on the passenger side behind the axle line, but with the turbo, I had to move it up forward of the axle. So here's how the custom front end is fitted in the instructions, but as you can see, there's a gap there for the headlight surrounds, so they really need to be finished off so that you've got some headlight surrounds on the front of the car. So to remedy that, I used the stock front end, and I'll fit the custom nose there to the stock front end. So I began by gluing the stock front end into place to locate the headlight surrounds in the proper location. I then cut off the zebra stripes there to get them out of the way. So you would need to trim some of the custom front end away around the stock headlight surrounds to get them to fit and look nice and match up with the hood. And also at this time, it's a good time to remove the parting lines that are on the body. And you see the one here is highlighted with a Sharpie in black. And also highlighted here where the fenders meet the custom front end, you'll need to clean those up and make that joint a little smoother by matching them up as best you can. It's not real pretty, but this is how we'll blend all the pieces together by using some putty and then filling that in. I also removed the side markers and the door handles from the car to make it look more like a custom, more like a show car, which is kind of what I'm trying to do here. I visioned this as a show car that Coke would have put out to publicize their product. You might also want to fill the indents where the door handles went to make that a nice smooth panel. Now after some more bodywork, shaping, etc., you still have a ways to go, but as you can see, it's coming together. The custom rear end fits without modifications, but it still needs a little putty to blend into the body for a nice smooth look, custom show car look. And so I also filled in the side marker lights there and removed the emblem from the sail panel. Also note that there's a light parting line in the back here, highlighted with a Sharpie as well. So here the custom rear end is in place, and we can add the spoiler later on before paint. The rear view mirror, they have parting lines through the center, and they would have to be cleaned up. I chose not to use them to continue that smooth look, so that's a decision up to you. So you see here the chrome pieces on the right, the small rounds. Those are the headlights for this particular custom version, but I thought they were a little toy-like, so I just replaced them with some headlights from a 65 Mustang kit. I used some Valspar Ford Red and then some Model Masters High Gloss Clear. Through an airbrush, I thinned it out for that, and then I also used a painting trick that I'd learned is to hang your body upside down so that the dust won't settle on it, and especially in the first few minutes, to give you a better finish. And here are the two sets of windows. You can see the lower ones are the clear windows and the upper are the Coke bottle green. You would use probably the clear ones for a stock version, but I chose the green, and we'll install those later. You can see the components are staged here for some of the final assemblies, and once the body's completely dried, at least overnight, you can highlight the trim with I used a black Sharpie in this case, or a small brush, and then assemble the main parts. Add the front seats to the interior if you haven't already, and locate the gluing points, and then install the interior tub onto the chassis. Use some good strong glue there, epoxy or super glue, and then I use some white glue to install the windows into the body. Locate the gluing points for the body onto the chassis and wiggle it over the wheel wells, and then install it into place. Let the assembly dry completely. You'll have quite a few parts left over from this kit depending on the version you build, and they'll make nice additions to your stash. Now we can add the decals of your choice to the body. I just used the large door decals to give this a custom Coca-Cola look. And you may need some plenty of warm water to position them, and perhaps even some setting solution if they don't seem to settle onto the body correctly. Well, there you have it. The model is complete, and this great little kit, which has shades of the old Pinto model version, has been released in a number of different liveries and styles. But in this way, you can make a real head turner with something that's just a little bit different. Being a custom build, you can have a lot of latitude to innovate and do whatever you like. This is just a nice, clean, smooth build, and with the bright red and white livery there, it's a real good-looking display for your shelf. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. But wait, there's more. The great little addition to this kit is a 125 scale Coke machine that comes with a great looking decal. And as you see here, the pieces, there's just 3 parts basically. Put her together, do a little extra work on the paint work there, and you'll have yourself a really nice looking model. Now on the side, it's got a white band. You paint that on, and the front is painted black with a little wood grain panel and some silver hardware. The wood grain's done just by painting the panel a medium brown, letting it dry, and then washing it off with some clear and a little black, and brushing it on with a kind of a patterned look to give it a little graininess. And there you have it. You're done. Well, we hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review. So that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to the YouTube channel here by clicking on the icon in the lower right hand of any of the reviews. And you can find us on Facebook or our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.